up?
Hey there.
We're here.
Uh-oh, we lost you, Fred. We can't hear you.
Oh no, Frankie lost your mic yet. Okay, she'll be right back. Okay, hi everybody. Good morning. It is Saturday, first episode of Nerd Out.
Yes.
And Van has just arrived.
Arrived. Hey there.
Oh, look at that beautiful, colorful background.
You're doing that a little bit. For the first time.
Again.
Yay, Frey girl.
Yay.
You know what I did? You know what I did there?
I
did that on purpose so that we'll have a really good show.
Okay.
At the beginning. There you go. Hey.
Thomas, hi, say Wong. Bat Mike said hello, excited for the show, and he did that 30 minutes before we even started.
Yes.
Woohoo.
So I'd like to thank everyone for joining us, our very first episode of the Saturday Morning Nerd Out. And joining me today is we have my lady beard in the chair for seventh guest, our awesome producer, Mezzo, over there to my over there. And join us with the crazy theories and stuff in her head. We have the Frey girl. Thank you. How's it going?
I'm good. I learned that Frey is actually Spanish for friar, so I'm also the friar girl.
Ooh. And of course, our Kyber Cave daddy, Ark, is in the house with us today. How's it going, Ark?
Man, if Phil were here, we'd do that. Boop, 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 boop.
We can't hear him.
We can't hear you. Yes, now we can hear you.
I was going to say, little known that.
I'm so excited for the show. I actually woke up.
Hey, Mike White.
Woke up on his
woke up on. It's so funny because for those who don't know, like a good majority of the KCP crew are more night people than morning people, and I'm more of a morning person than a night person. Partially because I get up for my kids at 6:45 in the morning every weekday, and so then on Saturdays I'm usually up by like 7:00, 7:30. I did not mute him, say Wong. No matter how much I wish to mute Van. I'm kidding, Van.
There's no muting of Van.
No muting of Van. He muted himself. He's still having some crackling, but that's not that bad. Van, if you want to try, unplug your microphone and plug it back in and see if that helps. It's the first time he's had any crackling since I fixed his laptop. So hopefully
that's cool.
Dr. Mezzo.
We're just trying to get in the middle of
I was like, I had operations of his laptop.
I think my cable or my mic. Is it still cracking?
Nope.
No.
Nope. We're good. We're good.
Sometimes it's just, did you turn off and that back on, or did you unplug it back in and say, "Wong, it's okay, Mezzo. Yeah. We all wish that."
But you still show up, fool.
Thanks for everything, guys. This was our show. I really appreciate you being.
Yes. This is.
Thank you. Okay.
New format. 8-minute show.
Yeah. And
we just
there you
go.
And I am Graveyard. This has been our pre-production show for a couple of months now. We're finally excited to kick it off and start nerding out with all you wonderful cavers out there. I'm excited.
I like spelunkers.
Excited. You like spelunkers?
I don't know why. I think maybe it's just the spelunk. It like makes
anybody that
sound.
Happened to watch KCAD last night. I want you to totally disregard that I'm wearing exactly the same thing that I wore last night when we did the show.
I mean, that was only ended like 11 hours ago.
Yeah, it was.
All right.
It's a show, sleep show.
Mm-hmm.
I almost came in and said that I was hungover from last night, but I didn't even drink last night, so I can't say I'm hungover.
I did, but I'm not hungover.
Say Wong, hey Van, is bickering is entertainment for the masses.
That is very much true. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you ready to start this Saturday morning nerd out together?
Let's nerd out, baby.
Yes. Let's go back to the slide one. All right. So, all right. So, who here has seen Quantumania? Raise your hand. Okay.
Opening weekend.
Can I say something? I'm super. I thought it was really cool that the word Ant-Man is actually in the name Quantumania.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's separated.
By
I
you.
Just like it would be.
I
with-
did not even realize that was the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. They had mentioned it that it has to be in like everything. And they like to put Mania in the back of
And Quantum.
Quantum, the quantum realm and everything. So yeah, so I mean, it made sense.
Oh yeah.
There are some people saying, you know, what's the next one going to be? Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania: The Return or something? Because they don't ever take anything away. It just adds more. So
It's going to be Electromania, Electric Boogaloo 2.
right.
Electric Boogaloo.
Quantumania 2, Drink the Ooze.
Yes.
There
All
you
right.
go.
All right.
Little,
So
little spin-off of that character.
yes.
There you go.
Now I'm not going to put the spoilers warning up because this has been out for a month at this point in time. But I said, Ark, you haven't seen this, but I just want to we're going to go through round robin and just tell us what you thought of this movie. And why don't we go ahead and start with Frey? What did you think of this movie as the kickoff to Phase 5?
Well, it definitely was a mood shift. Whereas I felt Phase 4, I said it was the artifact phase because we did get a lot of artifacts, but it really was the phase of grief, of getting over what everyone went through during the Infinity Saga. So I definitely think that we've got a different thing. And I think by not having Scott or Hope, sorry, Art, or any of the Van Dyne Pims perish, I think that was another way that they said, hey, let's do, we're not going to kill someone because this isn't about grief anymore. This is about pulling ourselves back together and fighting this enemy. I think Scott being the first one to go through, to meet Kang and not He Who Remains. I think that's an interesting choice because Scott's kind of a scatterbrain and forgets things and gets real excited about stuff and may have ADHD, I think. But I think that's cool because at the end it showed he was like, wait a minute, should we really be worried about this person? I mean, we did get rid of him, but I don't know. He didn't really seem like he was, so him having that internal dialogue at the end, I think really solidified to me that the reason they picked him was because he was so scatterbrained and he might get a hold of Sam and say, hey, so I was in the quantum realm recently and I thought this guy and I thought somebody should know about it. So this may tie into New World Order at some point. So I do see where the threads can come out. I think we're going to see Kang a lot more. And I think the Council of Kangs post-credit scene or mid-credit scene, I think that's what that was saying is we're going to see a lot of Kang, whether the heroes know that it's Kang or not, the audience will. And I think that's going to be a fun, little through line for all of us. So.
Right.
Yeah, I think Ant-Man, Scott Lang has always represented the everyman in the Avengers. I feel like Scott Lang is supposed to be what would happen if you and I joined the Avengers. He's just that goofball. But in that, I remember when the first Ant-Man came out, and not many people were very excited for that, for the movie or for the characters, but he became such an integral part of the story. I mean, really, you could say that in Endgame that was kind of all based around his actual, or the rat, I guess. But a lot of it had to do with Scott Lang. He was in the center of all that, and that was a little bit unexpected for a lot of Marvel fans.
Right.
I totally agree with you, Ark. I mean, when I saw that they did Ant-Man, I was like, really? They decided to do Ant-Man over She-Hulk or over Wonder Man or giving Scarlet Witch her own movie. I was like, okay, well, obviously they have to have that. And it was a total shock when in Endgame you see this little rat press a button and there's Scott. It's like whoosh, Scott.
Right.
And then he basically becomes the linchpin because of the Pym particles. And I thought that was brilliant. And
Right.
I have a feeling that they had, as soon as, they said, hey, we're doing Ant-Man. Okay, he's going to be pivotal in this particular situation. They do like doing that, where it's, okay, this is the everyman. He's going to be the one that's the cool one. He's going to save someone. We're going to show that. And I think that's part of it. It's part of the heart of the MCU, is finding that everyman and making them important so that it relates to the people that are watching it.
Yeah, I mean
Here,
that's.
here, here, here.
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree with that. What about you, Miss Metzel? You've seen this. What are your
Um,
thoughts on this?
oh, jeez. I am not as knowledgeable when it comes to like the comic side of everything. So when it comes to like what they're portraying correctly and such, the one thing, so I enjoyed the movie, but it feels like, okay, let me try to arrange my thoughts. So when Endgame happened,
Mm-hmm.
it felt like in Infinity War and Endgame, it felt like we had that heavier, emotional, more real feeling and raw of like the seriousness of a lot of situations. The whole being in this quantum realm in this different world, my brain can't grasp around the funny moments that keep happening.
Mm-hmm.
And so many, like it's so much of the funny moments that it feels like it's trying to make too light of the situation. So then it doesn't feel like any of the characters are really in danger because everyone's so lighthearted and so many jokes about it. And then I know a lot of people, which kind of like, since I don't have the whole knowledge of the whole comic background about like how this Kang who took over these worlds and everything was defeated so easily by Ant-Man and his crew, his motley crew. But it was because he didn't have his suit, I think, or something like that. I feel like it's been ages since I've seen it, and it was literally only like a month ago.
You saw it opening weekend, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. So it felt like a while ago, I guess.
Yeah. No, I
But
agree.
I
With you on
do
that,
wish
Reza.
that Marvel movies in general wouldn't have. I mean, the funny moments are great. Everyone loves funny, but it feels like it's so overwhelming that it feels like nothing's really at stake, like it was in Infinity War.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Like when characters actually died in Infinity War, you felt like, okay, this is real. This is what happens in real life. People don't just survive and live all the time. The good guys don't always win in real life too. So I liked that part of the writing of it because it just really felt real in the sense. Like it felt like the realest it had ever been, even though it was like, nobody turns to ash like that.
Right.
But people die. And not everybody really lived even after Endgame, not everybody really lived.
Yeah.
You had Gamora is not really the Gamora that we knew and such. So I kind of wish it wasn't so lighthearted just because it doesn't feel like there's really anything at stake.
Right.
For me.
I
Because it feels like they're not taking it seriously.
I have a question for you because I'm so into the comic book knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know there was going to be a huge, MCU megaverse. At the time, I was really, really into comics, so I kind of just lucked into it. But so I have a question. Okay, so do you feel like it was too much of like a 180? Like we were so into, like in phase 4, everything was about, oh gosh, we lost these people, we have to get through it. And then they immediately went to Ant-Man, who is more of a comedic figure. I mean, obviously his defense mechanism is comedy. We know this. So, do you feel that if Kang had been introduced in a different, like for, let's say,
I mean, he was
World
more
Order.
introduced in Loki.
Yeah, that is
rather
true.
than Quantum Mania, which felt more serious. It had its funny moments, but like Loki's used to this crazy stuff in the world in the multiverse, and like, not the multiverse specifically, but more like being in different worlds and stuff, like going, Asgard and the world,
and
yeah, he's a god, and so like he's used to that crazy stuff happening, and then you've got these people who are humans with suits and science, MCU science.
We can say it like aliens, science.
that are in this other world and are cracking, not just Scott, but the other two, like cracking jokes that felt like they were way too lighthearted for the situation. And so it did, I don't know if to say it felt like a 180, but it just felt like we had two movies that were pretty serious. And then it kind of felt like, okay, now it's too serious. Let's go back to the lighthearted stuff. And for me, I guess personally, as myself as a fan, had hoped there'd be still some more seriousness in it. Just because it just feels like the characters aren't taking it as seriously as they should.
Yeah.
I was told that I watch a lot of like the behind the scenes and the theories videos and things, even on movies that I don't watch, and I was told that the marketing on this one felt a little bit off. In that, I guess in the first half of the movie, they talk about this big bad guy, this big scary guy, but because of the marketing, you already know who that is. But in the movie, so it's almost like a payoff that doesn't really work for the movie. Was that true or not?
I would say that when it came to the marketing and the way the movie went, it felt predictable in the sense that it wasn't like a story. You weren't like driven to really get involved because you knew kind of like what was going to happen. Like it just felt like the good guy was going to win. You know,
Was that did that work for this movie, or was that just off? I mean, most times you wouldn't want that for a movie, right?
The one thing that was off is that I felt like the trailer was more serious than the movie, and so it was a little bit of a letdown when it came to that, because there was a part in the trailer where Scott goes, "I'm sorry, Cassie."
Yeah,
and it sounded so serious and so heart-wrenching, and that was not said in the movie. I could hear, like, acting wise, I could hear in Paul Rudd's voice like the anguish of him saying that. And I thought, oh, he's going to sacrifice himself or something to save her, even though she doesn't want him to or something. But that line, the way he said it and everything, was never said in the actual theater release. And so, and I know Eric Klaus, New Rockstars, recently had a video on Deep Dive about how trailers can lie.
Right. Saw that.
Yeah, and that felt kind of like one of those moments where it was like, I waited that whole movie just to hear that.
Right.
Because we're so used to seeing, I love Paul Rudd. Most of the movies I've seen him in are really very comedic stuff. So I was really looking forward to like hearing some really dramatic stuff coming from him, especially in the MCU with how lighthearted it can be. And so that part of it, with it comes to the marketing and the trailer and the theatrical release, was a bit of a letdown for me.
I also heard from a lot of people that not having Luis in there was a big miss.
It's funny that you're saying that. Here I'm wanting it more serious, and Luis is the comic relief.
Right.
Yeah, but you had. So I think in the other two, Luis was the comic relief. So, so that Scott could be that more heroic. I'm gonna say the cheesy line, but I'm gonna say it with the gravitas that it, to make it seem like it's not as cheesy.
Yeah, and story-wise, his character didn't really fit in there. His character's not scientific. He's not going to go into the quantum realm and stuff.
Well, so he is an engineer, so I think he plays down what he understands and what he doesn't understand. But yeah, I guess if I was gonna have a gripe about it, besides like not seeing Luis because I wanted to see him as well, but if I had a gripe about it, I would say that I know they reshot some stuff in like probably about a month before it opened. And from what I understand, I think New Rockstars went over this, but I can't remember who exactly I heard it from. So sorry if I didn't credit you guys. My heart's in the right place. MT, I will always credit you with everything. Right. Not that he'll see this, but I think that may have been it as well. I know that end scene where he's going over, well, was it King? Did we get in? Did we not? That was reshot. And so something wasn't working. And so I don't know if they had originally decided to kill someone and then went back on it because they thought that it would have more oomph if they did it during Secret Wars or King Dynasty. So I understand that part of it. And yeah, I do wish it was a little bit more serious. I do wish that like Cassie and Hope maybe freaked out a little bit more because they're the ones that haven't been in the quantum realm before. The other three have. And it seemed like Michael Douglas's character, Hank, was the one that was the most freaked out about it. And he was more freaked out that she had a boyfriend. So it was like, you know, I understand the whole family dynamic, and they really are the family in the MCU right now. Hopefully,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we get that first family back. Um, but I do think that that could have been played a little bit more like, what the hell is this? You know, they started on it, but they didn't lean into it. And I feel like if they had
Mhm.
leaned into that a little bit more, that Mezzo, you would have gotten that more serious part of it. Like, I'm seriously freaking out here, and I, you know, that kind of thing. The, you know, the Darren joke, I thought that was great. I thought that was something that was cutting and very fitting for Darren's character
Yes, I
that we've
agree.
seen so far, and that, but they didn't need all the rest of it. I loved that the
It's a
buildings
good
were
it's a
sentient.
good moral story. Don't be a
Yeah.
dick. So here's an idea that popped in my head that would have been funny for Luis though.
Mm-hmm.
A mid-credit scene that plays while the credits are going on the side of him telling the group in his Luis way the story of the
Yeah.
movie, like his own like little version of it. That would be.
Oh, that's very like how he did the other stories in the other movies.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like something like that
Or like him
of the
actually telling
version.
his cousin, because it's
Yeah,
always
like
he's with his cousin at the
Mm-hmm.
wine tasting and the art, you know, the art opening. And I'm like, what does Luis do when he's not, because he's going to these like really bougie places. I want to see what else he does, because I have a feeling he's like this big, like big deal in the art world or something, and we just don't know about it because he just wants to be a security guy with his best friend Scott. You know what I mean? It's like, what the hell?
Graveyard. What did you feel about Modoc? I'm hearing a lot of mixed reactions. People were excited that he was in as a character, but thought he just came off really goofy. What did you feel about this introduction to Modoc?
So I think overall we're not seeing the big picture of this because let's face it, the first movie of Phase 2 was Iron Man 3, which was a stinker. Let's face it, after coming off the Avengers, and I think we're coming off of that here. But in terms of Modoc, yeah, I think that I agree with Mezzo that this wasn't serious enough. But Ant-Man isn't a serious movie, and realistically, the comics are pretty quippy. Everyone's quipping all the time, and I think we're seeing that translated into these movies. Not necessarily well done, but you know, did they need to make Darren Modoc? No, Modoc could have been anybody else, but they just decided to throw Modoc into it. And I think you know there's too much comedy in this, and King was defeated pretty easily and handily, but you know that's just one instance of it. And Modoc was done dirty, quite honestly.
Modoc wasn't very good at killing. Who is
No,
Right.
as
no,
like
not
what
at all.
he's designed for. So
Yeah, but neither was Darren. So I mean,
But I
you
don't
know,
think we see the big picture of everything. We're looking at this very harshly because we know how the other phases went, but we didn't know phases existed when Iron Man 3 came out. We
I
didn't
mean,
know it was
yes.
phase 1. So
yeah.
I think we're scrutinizing these phases a lot more than we ever have, and we just don't know the full picture yet. And then when we look back at the multiversal saga, we'll understand everything a lot better.
Does anybody have multiverse fatigue?
No.
No, you know what? I live in the multiverse every day of my life forever. But I'm that person. Like you know, I go into
Mm-hmm.
my stance on going into any kind of media that isn't the original media. So if it's a book, I go into it and I say, you know what? This isn't the book universe. This is the movie universe. So I think I've lived in multiverses for too long
Yeah.
because of how I see things like comic book stuff. You know, the reason that I enjoy so much of it is because I'm like, well, this is an Elseworld story. This isn't the comic book universe. This is its own universe. So it's going to do what it's going to do. And so I think this is I'm in my sweet spot right now because I've already lived like this in my life, and I'm like, yay, everybody else caught up with me. This is fantastic.
Well, multiverse wise, I was speaking more like multiple Lokis and multiple Ant-Mans and stuff like that. Not comic versus movie.
Yeah,
I think it's because I fail to like fully grasp, and I'm one of those humans that would be like, oh, do we really have free will? Am I really a unique person? That kind of a thing.
Mhm.
So my brain gets a little stuck on it.
Right.
Yeah, I can see that. My thing is, when it comes to like variants and stuff, I think it's funny, but one of my favorite episodes of Star Trek is when they went to that different universe, and like the only difference was like I think Spock had like a goatee and he was evil, and I was always like, oh, I love the evil versions of everyone.
Can I say drunk me is a variant?
Right? Yeah.
I'm not
No,
drunk.
I'm like,
ever.
I want to see
The sober you is the variant.
I want to see the Patty Hartwell who played Madison. I want to see that version of me. I want that variant
Right.
of me. I want to be like, oh my god, yeah, I'm totally freaked out and I love it, and I just love everybody. That kind of thing. So I find it fascinating. I want to see all of those things, all those decisions that I could have made, like what would have happened, with that. I think that would be fun. Now, what I would probably be really depressed afterward, but yeah, I don't feel the fatigue, but then again, I'm in it. I'm in it for the long haul. I feel the same way as Graveyard. We didn't know about phases until Infinity War came up, and we were like, "What? Wait, this has all been leading to this? What the hell?" And now we're, as fans, we're more film intelligent to this universe. We have more expectations because we do know the structure now, whereas we didn't before. So we were like, okay, is this leading somewhere? Is it not leading somewhere? Now we're like, oh, this has got to be leading somewhere. So we're looking for those little clues, and we're looking for that gravitas. We're looking for that, where's their intention? Why is Kang acting this way? Why was it so easy to defeat him? Well, I think it's going to be pretty easy to defeat a lot of the Kangs, and I think the higher up we get, the harder it's going to be. I think the exiled one screwed up. They took all of his little toys away from him, and he was just a man, and he was having a really hard time with that. So,
all right. As much as I want to continue this conversation, we got more headlines and stuff to get through. So let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. And we're discussing what you guys have heard of the Aquaman 2 test screenings. I want to hear what you guys think of it. We've heard so much of people walking out, and I don't know if it's Amber Heard related or if it's just a bad movie, or
I think it could be both.
It could be both, but
I
just want to get a quick synopsis of what you guys think of it and how excited you are after hearing all these walkouts. So, Frey, you're at the top. I'm going to start with you here. What do you feel about these? I know DC's your baby here.
Yeah, and as I said, I've always gone into them as these are Elseworlds. This is not and it's not. In this instance, this Aquaman to me he's got the crankiness, and he's got the I don't really give a crap about land dwellers, but he doesn't really give a crap in this. He doesn't really give a crap about his people in Atlantis, but hopefully in this one he will. I think it was ill-conceived, especially after the announcement to continue making this movie. Does that make sense? I would love to see it, but I feel like everyone now, because Jason Momoa is Jason Momoa, and he's like, oh, I'd love to play Lobo. I really want to do that. Now everybody's like, well, he's only Aquaman for, that last movie and this movie, and then he's going to be Lobo. Why should we care? And I think that's where DC is going right now, is everybody's like, well, James Gunn's doing all this stuff, but this isn't James Gunn stuff. So why should we care about it? It's probably not going to matter in a couple of years. And so that could be part of it. Also, the Amber Heard hate, I'm sure, is part of it. I didn't like her in the first movie. I thought that she was kind of a cut rate Ariel. And so yeah, so I wasn't a big fan of hers as Mira anyway. She didn't really play her the way Mira would have been played. She wasn't Mira's a warrior. She wouldn't have been like, let me eat these roses. She would have
I feel
been
like it should
like,
have been more like an Arwen
yeah, she should have been like, how do I kill
badass.
these things? Is this a weapon? And trying to use it as a weapon or something, because that's who her people are. That she's not an Atlantean. She's from a different tribe, and they are warriors. They fight all the time. They are ready for battle, and so I just feel like they did her a disservice. Did Mira a disservice? So, yeah. So I'm not surprised people have been walking out. I think that the where they're going with him, just the look of like he's got like a black outfit on now. And it's like, well, it's going to be even darker, and I felt like
Batman of the water.
right, Batman of the water. But I felt like, and you know what, Aquaman is so much more than that. Like he is, I would say, Wakanda Forever got Aquaman right in Namor. Because
Right.
I felt like Namor in that was more like Aquaman than Namor. Namor's a dick. Like he's a full-on asshole. And he doesn't give a shit about anybody but himself and some of his people. And that's it. And he's gonna go and F-boy around and do whatever he wants because he's a ruler. And that's kind of, Arthur Curry is has to be like that because his people are the most important to him. But also he has a little bit of that humanity since his dad is human. And so I would have liked to have seen more of the torn between two worlds, and it wasn't that at all, that first one. And I don't think the second one's going to be that either. I think they're still exploring, oh, well, how do I become king? Well, no, you were already king just by being born. So there wasn't that internal struggle of, am I more human or am I more Atlantean? And where do my loyalties lie? And I would have liked to have seen that. We didn't see that at all. It was a freaking budding romance buddy comedy, in my opinion. So I don't know why I would want to see the second one.
Okay.
Sorry,
Metso,
I rambled. I
no,
apologize.
that's all good. All good. Metso,
You're so knowledgeable. I really enjoy hearing all of your insights. So, okay. Unfortunately, I feel so, yes, because of the Amber Heard stuff, and so many people have trouble separating artist from the work, even in when the whole situation was going. And I don't remember how allegedly true these were, that Jason Momoa and people talked about like how they didn't have any chemistry. And a lot of editing went into the first movie to make it look more like
even
they, it just felt, Leaf never felt like they loved each other or fell in love. It just felt like Batman. I agree, Mira could have been a warrior. However, this may be a bit edgy, and I don't get that. Do you think that if it amped Mira up as a warrior, she seemed like an underwater Wonder Woman? I don't really know, because
good question.
It's a neat question.
It's a really good question.
That Mike, you want to be on the show?
But I think that would have that representation, in a sense, would have been better than what they had. So, it's, I think, people going in to see the second movie, knowing that there's going to, expecting no chemistry, expecting, because no one likes Amber Heard, and people probably, like Frank Girl didn't like her originally the first movie anyway. And the whole outcry wanting like Emilia Clarke to play her instead and all this stuff, because she has so much.
Yeah, I don't know.
There
if
was
I
going to be
Emilia Clarke playing her.
I don't. Yeah, I don't. I'm not sure. I would have preferred someone else in general, but not necessarily Emilia Clarke. Someone with the same kind of chemistry that I feel like could really pull off the tough warrior feeling.
Yeah, I mean, there's many instances of somebody like you've got like Gina Torres in Firefly. She was like badass. A warrior, but she was also soft too. Like you saw her being soft with Wash. That's who her soft person was. And everybody else got the move out of my way or I'm going to kick your ass kind of thing. So you
Mhm.
don't have to be Wonder Woman or Xena or, there are different types of warrior women. But yeah, and you know what? Hey, if Mira was the underwater Wonder Woman, I wouldn't mind it because it's
Mhm.
pretty iconic. So,
And
but
when
yeah,
you were talking about Aquaman and his people, right?
yeah.
That
Mhm.
he didn't give a crap. And it's interesting because I know so many people compare Marvel and DC. I think Marvel's just been at it longer and has better writers right now. And like when in Black Panther 2, Shuri goes down and sees Namor's world.
Mhm.
And I feel like she made more of a connection with his people than Aquaman did with his own
Right.
people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
he felt that connection and I felt it, like seeing how his world was. And then when Aquaman goes down, everything's at war and there's this terrible stuff happening. So like he's gonna be like, well, I don't have any real connection to these people. They were not good to my mom, and like all this going down, and what's he gonna give a crap about? So like it felt kind of rough to feel any kind of chemistry with him and anybody else down there in general. I love you, Patrick Wilson, but
Right. Well, and I'm gonna say like the actors in the movie, like, well, besides Amber, but they did a really good job. Like they acted the hell out of that movie, and the visuals were great. It just missed some of those connectors, like you were saying, Mezzo. It just missed that. It missed the underlying essence of Aquaman, and the underlying essence of Aquaman is, where do my loyalties lie? And he struggles with that. He struggles with that all the time. He's not just a guy that talks to fish. And I mean, that's been the running meme for, I don't know, probably
did he
since
even
since
talk
the
to fish
internet.
in the movie?
He didn't really talk to him, but he felt them. Like he could communicate with them, but you didn't see him actually going, "Hey Frank, how's the wife?" I mean, it was more, "Hey, I need you to help me with this," and they were like, "Oh, hey,
Could they
sup,
make
bud? Let's do this."
I know it's DC. They could make like a Louise Fish for
Right.
Aquaman or some kind of
There you go.
comedic
Played by
relief.
Will Smith. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I
All right.
just the fishtail. I for some
Yeah.
reason came right into my head when that or
I feel the
shark
tuna
tail.
would be funny for some reason.
Yeah.
There you go.
So Ark, I don't know how much you follow DC. I mean, how do you feel about this? Does this sway you into seeing it or not seeing it or anything like that?
Yeah, no, not really. I only saw Aquaman for the first time about 3 months ago in my classroom. On Fridays, I'm a teacher. On Fridays, we do Fun Fridays, so we usually will watch a movie, and
Mhm.
we just watched Aquaman. And I mean, it just seemed like a typical superhero movie. Like I didn't feel invested in the characters. Um, I'm one of these people, for better or worse, that can separate a lot of times the art from the actor, right? So the
Mhm.
whole Amber Heard thing didn't really bother me with what was going on in her personal life. My only thought was, is she doing a good job here? You know what I mean?
Right.
It was all right. Aquaman is not a character I'm super invested in. And I kind of feel like that with the whole DC franchise in general. I just feel like, like they're trying so hard to catch up with Marvel that they're not paying attention to what they actually have that's good and writing on that. I'm hoping that's what is going to happen now with with James Gunn coming in. But if the audiences aren't digging it right now, I don't know. I'm a little bit worried,
Yeah.
and I don't know what they're going to do to fix it between now and when they're going to try to release it.
I don't think
Go
they're going to
ahead.
do anything. I don't think they're going
Yeah.
to do anything. It does, like as Frey was saying, it doesn't matter. This movie doesn't matter at this point in time.
Right? Do you think
So,
everybody's just feeling that in general?
mhm. Yeah, I mean, we get something like this that comes out and people don't care about it, but people are excited for Batgirl and we don't get it. So they're really picking and choosing what to move forward and what not to move forward, I think.
Zaslav is making the wrong choices.
Mhm.
I think it's a mistake that they're going to release Flash. I know why they're releasing it. I
They have to.
feel it's
They have
I
to
feel
do
it's
the
a
soft
mistake.
reset. They have to
Yeah.
do the soft reset.
Yeah.
Right.
And yeah, so it really, I feel like that we're all just waiting. And Art, to your point, I don't think they had a plan, and I think now that you're right that they were just trying to catch up on Marvel, whereas Marvel went, look, we've got this plan. We're going to start slow. We're going to do this. We're going to expand the world, and by the time we're ready for our real big bad, we'll have a lot of heroes, and then after
Right.
that we're gonna have, I think that it's been planned. I definitely think through, I'm betting through phase 8 was pre-planned.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
So
and to Kevin Feige and the rest of the Marvel team's credit, I think they did a really good job of navigating around things that they couldn't deal with, right? Like, so some of the X-Men and the Fantastic Four who belong to other companies, they did a really good job of saying, okay, we want to do these, because Kevin Feige has said for a long time that Fantastic Four is his favorite of all of the Marvel stories, and so I'm sure he's been excited and wanted to do a Fantastic Four movie from the beginning, but
yeah,
strategically he knew he couldn't. And I really think it's been so clever, because I think if this was DC and they had all the properties, they would have just blown out X-Men and all the big ones right from the beginning and just had nothing left to deal with. Whereas Marvel is strategically planning it out. I mean, we're what, 31 movies, because that was Quantum Mania was 31 flavors.
yeah,
We're 31 movies into the MCU, and they still have heavy hitters. They still
Right.
have things that 10 years from now people will go see an X-Men movie if it takes that long. But
Oh,
DC is just like, well, Aquaman made money, so we got to get that second one out there right away.
right.
They're just trying to, Batman they know is consistent, so they'll just put another Batman project out.
That makes me
yeah.
think of on like the Detroit Become Human and story games with stories like those where they can go in so many different directions.
Mhm.
Like Marvel prepping, okay, if we get this property eventually, this is where it would fit, but you can't see that without knowing that that would be coming, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Like I like Fantastic Four. I mean, I enjoyed the first movie because it was like fun and silly. I love you on Griffith. Um, I have to breathe. Okay. I think now they're kind of not really saying so much about it because they want it to be right before they release say stuff. Bat Mike said with the Flash, and I
Yes.
agree, keeping Ezra is a bad decision. Do you think that moving forward, when they recast, it's them, by the way, not him,
Yeah,
should they use Grant Gustin or maybe a new actor? So I mean, are they planning to actually recast Ezra at all?
they
Don't
haven't
know.
said, but I think that now that's probably because of what happened with Cavill and Gal Gadot and
Mm-hmm.
Ben Affleck and stuff. So I think they're kind of keeping it under their hat now, which I think is a good idea. Just because there's been so many mixed messages. So I do think that it would be a good idea to recast them. Um, I don't know about Grant. He's been doing it so long on TV. I think if he was willing to do it, that they might put in a way for him to be part of it. But I think if they're going to continue with the Flash, that they should either age him up or or reboot him completely. Make it Barry, or have it where there's a Barry and a Wally, and then have it could be about Wally instead of Barry. I
Almost
mean,
do like a
there's
DC version of No Way Home.
yeah, I mean, I do think that and the Flash is just rife with that. I mean, they time travel. They meet themselves so many times that it really is one of those situations where you could recast Ezra and it really wouldn't impact
Mm-hmm.
that much because they've done it before. I mean, heck, Barry was dead for so long and then they brought him back. And then they did Flashpoint and he messed up the world. And it's like, great, Barry's back and now the world's messed up. So it's a running joke that anytime something bad happens, where's Barry? What did he do? I mean, that's kind of the thing. So I do see that they could recast and it wouldn't be that big of a deal. I do think Ezra needs help. And I think giving Ezra more movies and more and keeping them in this lifestyle, I think, is detrimental to their health, and I think they need to get that taken care of first before they commit to any additional movies and anything. So,
All
Yeah,
right.
I think when it. Oh, sorry. Go ahead,
I
Gregor.
don't know. Just go ahead.
When it comes to Ezra, I think the rough people are a lot of the rough thing a lot of people are seeing is the whole Cavill and Ben Affleck and everything and Gal Gadot. All of a sudden, they're not in DC, and then Ezra, who had done things previously that a lot of people were like, he's been arrested and questionable and all that, is still staying as the Flash, and so people are like, so you're keeping the person that did all these things.
you're
They
keeping
messed
the
up and all
problem.
this. You're keeping
Yeah.
the problem and then throwing out the people who like everyone loved.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if everyone loved Ben Affleck. I enjoyed him just fine.
I
I
thought
do
he did a great job.
do love Robert Pattinson's Batman story. I loved that movie a lot. But I think, unfortunately, just because natural habit, like I said, Marvel and DC get compared a lot. Marvel's got better writers and they've been doing it longer. So their stories have more weight and merit to them, like later on, where DC, like we saw how Aquaman didn't connect with his people. There's a disconnect for us as fans to connect with some of the characters sometimes. But getting rid of the ones that are liked and then the one that everyone wants to be gone.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Kind of that note, I had a question that I wanted to hear what Graveyard was going to say. But with Shazam that just came out, that's one of the few Disney DC properties that I'm actually excited about. I saw the first Shazam with my son, and I really didn't care, but I was delightfully, surprised at how much better of a movie it was than what I expected going in. So with this new Shazam, and of course they're playing it up in the commercials that Wonder Woman is in this. Do you think that this Shazam movie matters? Is it going to matter going in? Is having Wonder Woman in the end of this a signal of some sort that maybe she's still going to be part of the new?
Yeah. I don't think it really matters. I think it's just a cameo to have a cameo to get people in there, and they ruined it within the trailer itself. They really do.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's yeah. I think it is what it is. We'll see. They might keep Shazam. We just don't know their picture yet. We don't know everything.
Right.
But yeah, I just want to. Yeah, I think we should get. I want to get a thumbs up or thumbs down from you guys and the chat. If you're excited or not about this, I'm big thumbs down.
Yeah, I'm probably a thumbs down.
If you're saying excited, I'm thumbs down. I'll
Yes.
watch it. I'm not excited about it at all.
Yeah.
But Ark, I think you're right about the Shazam. I have to say I'm more excited about that one than probably anything that's coming out from DC right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because I did enjoy the first one. It was funny, but then it had that heart.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
I feel like Shazam is really the only character that knows who he is in the DCU right now. And I think that's why the other, like, the DC's had such a hard time getting off the ground, is because they aren't letting their characters know who they are.
Right.
Batman needs to know who he is. In the Batman, he knew who he was. Yeah, he struggled, but he was like, no, I have to find out who did this. I need to know why.
Right.
And you knew that's who he was. And with the Superman, the Snyder stuff, and I loved Man of Steel, and actually I did like Batman versus Superman. I call it the Dawn of Wonder Woman for reasons, but I think Snyder did a good job with what he had and the tone he wanted to do. But Superman didn't know who he was. He didn't know. Now, part of that is he needs to make sure he keeps his humanity because he's an alien. But in the comics, he knows who he is. He knows he's an alien, but he adopts humanity as his family. And I think we need to see that. Hopefully we'll see it in James Gunn's movie, and I think that's a good idea. I think the reason they decided not to keep with Cavill or Gal Gadot, and I don't think that that's set in stone. They may do something with them. I just think they wanted to keep everything open in case they found who they were looking for with the vision that they have. I believe that. I don't think there are any hard feelings with any of the actors that aren't going to be playing those characters anymore. They're just going in a different direction.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think that's why the Joker and Shazam were kind of two of the surprise offsets from DC's, because both of those knew exactly what they were, and what they knew that they were not part of the main crew, right? So when they were doing Shazam, they had no illusions that Shazam was ever going to be hanging out with, a lot of the bigger characters. They had a much smaller budget. So instead of trying to be what the other movies were, they just accepted what they were and did the best they could with what they had, and actually made it turn out great. Same thing with Joker. They weren't trying to make that, fit into this pre-existing universe. They were just out to make a good movie.
Yeah, DC's about the spectacle and not the story. And with Shazam and with the Joker and with the Batman, those were about the story and the characters. It wasn't about the spectacle. And I think that's where Marvel is, Marvel's starting to get to where we need to have that spectacle. And you saw that in Ant-Man, to bring it back to Ant-Man. But, and I think that's where they're going wrong, is that they're flip-flopping. We need solid stories out of DC. We still need those solid stories out of Marvel, so yeah, I'm excited to see what's coming up for both. So,
all right, let's go ahead and move on to our next slide. We're running out of time. Let's
gosh.
talk Mandalorian season 3. Let's just talk about this quick episode, and I need to, for anyone that hasn't seen this,
spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
There
Spoiler alert.
Hey, that's Eric's favorite.
So, Eric, have you seen the episode yet?
Oh yeah,
okay.
Dude. I'm one of those guys that wait up till midnight for the for the show to drop.
What I mean, in a couple sentences or a paragraph here, a couple minutes. What did you think of season 3, episode 3 of this?
So I saw somebody made like this little meme or whatever. I thought it was very interesting, especially bringing back to Ant-Man, how Ant-Man is in the word Quantumania. Well, inside Mandalorian is the word Andor. And I thought it was very interesting that when I was watching this episode, because this episode was two distinct different stories that they just kind of mashed up together. But for the one story, it felt very much like I was watching Andor, kind of the way they set up the characters and how they bring a lot more humanity to the Imperial side. That's one thing I will say that I'm liking about these Disney streams, is that, in the movies, the bad guys are just the bad guys, and they're not real people. They're just mean people. But in Disney streams, we really get to see the motives and like how they are real people in crappy circumstances working for the Empire. So I very much liked this episode. I thought it was really weird where like Mando was like, I've got to bring back proof, right? And he brings back the water. And I was like, you don't have a video recorder or anything, like a camcorder? Like, I would have taken a picture of the black, done a selfie. Yeah.
Well, the argument is that the living water is what the weapon maker uses to forge the stuff. So she was able to confirm that it was living water. So that's the best proof he could possibly have.
But none of that was ever explained. At no point in any of this did they say, if you bring back the water, you know what I mean? Like, I realized that's what it was later. But at the time, like, how would Mando have known that? You know what I mean? That's because she never told him, bring the water and then I can, test it. I'd have been like, selfie. Click, 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 click.
Here's a holo of me, and I'm splashing in the water.
But overall, you enjoyed the episode, though, right?
Yeah, I do. I do, dude. Like, Dave Filoni and Favreau can do no wrong right now. Well, I mean, they could. I'm sure they could totally torpedo the series, but for me right now, they are what is keeping Star Wars together for me in general.
That Mike, the dark side does indeed have cookies. It's an interesting season so far, and I'm excited for stuff. I want to pose a question once we all kind of go through our thoughts here and see what you guys think of it. But I know this lovely lady up here. We'll be discussing it probably a lot more on Tuesday. But what are your initial thoughts on this?
So I'm still totally on the Mando and
your theory that we discussed on.
Yeah, so I'm still on that train. I'm still on the Bo-Katan and Din Djarin being, uniting their people, and I think they're going to try to unite their clans by a political marriage. Now, I have amended it a little. I don't know if the marriage will completely go through. I think there might be somebody's coming in. I think Thrawn might be behind all of this. I don't know if we'll see him in The Mandalorian. I think they're going to save him for Ahsoka, but I do think he is the warlord that had all of the fighters in the beginning. And
That's
I think
I said on Tuesday.
Yeah, I know. I think you're right. But I do think it's Thrawn. I think something's going to happen. But I don't think Bo-Katan and Din Djarin are going to fight. The way that they're setting it up, it seems like it's more about uniting and less about fighting. And I like that. I think that that's an interesting direction to go in for The Mandalorian, because all we ever see is them as fighters, as people who fight. But I do think Elia Kane, who was the communications officer for Moff Gideon, I do think that she's going to be the pseudo bad guy this season. Whether she's going to be the bad guy, excuse me, for the Mandalorian people, or if she's going to be the bad guy in general, moving up the ranks in that. And we may see her. It may be a split thing where it's half.
She had the crazy eyes, man. She had the crazy eyes as soon as she walked in there. I was like, "There's something wrong with this chick."
I like it. I think she's got the chops to do it. I do think Moff Gideon has escaped. I think he's out there somewhere, but I don't think he's going to be a huge threat. And it may be one of those where he needs Din's help or Bo-Katan's help because now Thrawn's after him. So we may see something like that. But yeah, for this particular one, I thought it was great. I didn't mind the book ending. I'm not a bookend person, so y'all need to stop it. But I did like that they kind of sandwiched the story of Dr. Pershing, because that is a thread that needed to be plucked, or needed to be cut, I guess. And I think that that's interesting that we're seeing that part of it. So yeah. Hey
Isaac, how's it going?
What's up?
So my question to pose to you guys is, I'm purposely not watching any theories or theorists or videos on YouTube before we're doing these nerd outs on the stuff that we're talking about. So I don't have try not to get any influence from anything other than watching these. But my question question to you is, I felt there was a parallel that we're seeing between, and that's why they had the story with the Doctor and Kane, is I feel that the Doctor is Mando and Kane is Bo-Katan. That it's called the convert, and that there's a parallel that she is also seeing and planting these things to get Mando in trouble and overrule him and override him. What do you guys? What do you think about that?
That was definitely something that I was thinking about, was that I didn't see necessarily the similarities between the two stories. However, I do know that I was like, don't be trusting that Bo-Katan, man. That chick is shifty, dude. You could tell how, she was asking, did you see anything while you were down there? And she's just keeping it all a secret. Even when she came into the Coven, you think any other man will be like, holy crap, dude, I saw a mythosaur. You know what I mean? But she was like, no, dude, she's definitely plotting on something. What I'm hoping is that she does it in a good way, as opposed to an evil way, I guess. Maybe somehow it's a new Mandalorian clan where two different opposing kind of styles can lead together. One with the dark saber and one having ridden the mythosaur.
I just think that it was a parallel, that she's not necessarily doing it out of evil, that she is doing it to get into a position of power to limit the competition. And that's why I think these stories are shoehorned in there, is to show that there is a similarity there, that it's the same story but set with different people with ultimate goals, same goals.
And I think of it more as yin and yang. Like, whereas Elia Kane is pulling everyone to the dark side, like she's pulling people to the dark side. That's the darker part of it. And where Mando's pulling Bo to the light side, to his side. So like she said, this is the way, after he says this is the way. So she's starting to believe certain things. And it may have been that the mythosaur for her was that faith moment, whereas Den is just, no, I'm a child of the watch, this is what I do. And so I can see that where they are parallel that way, where they are being converted. I think it's just a twist on that convert, that Elia Kane is just so good at talking people into doing the bad stuff, and Mando's becoming that person that is really good at talking people into doing the right thing. And so we see the juxtaposition of them, and I think that's great. I do. I think Bo's a little shook. I think the reason she didn't say anything about the mythosaur, I don't know if she believes it herself that she really saw it. I think she's kind of questioning. She's like, no, it's one of those things where you see something, you're like, no, I couldn't have possibly seen that. There's no way, because I was just thinking about it so hard.
Yeah.
So
that bringing up the question, with the two stories, I think we have a convert in each story. Which one?
Yeah.
Quickly, which one do you think is the convert between Mando and Bo, and which one's the convert between the Doctor and Kane?
I think Bo is a little more of a convert. Like she was making fun of Din for believing these childhood stories and things like that. But when the childhood stories turn out to be true, and then she also realizes that in her actions, in her greed and trying to unite everything, she left out the meaning of what it was to be Mandalorian, and now she's in with this small little group who truly live the way and really believe in the old stories. And she just saw an example of it with an actual living mythosaur. I think she's starting to become a convert in that way. Alaya, man, that chick is, I don't know, dude. I'm very interested in her, dude. She works for Thrawn, or I mean, she's tied into General Grand Moff Tarkin still, and we don't really know what happened to him still, too, right? Because they were saying that there was rumors that he was mind flayed, but then there was also rumors that he had escaped. So he's still a loose end floating out there, and we know that
you mean Gideon? Tarkin blew up with the Death Star.
My bad, Gideon. Yes, Moff Gideon. She's still very loyal and tied into him. Whereas I think Pershing, which, by the way, first example of somebody wearing glasses in Star Wars, because I was always told when I was cosplaying that glasses do not exist in the Star Wars universe. So for people who wear glasses, you got a Pershing out there now. I think she is still very tied into Grand Moff Gideon, whereas he very much believes in the work that he was doing. And I also want to say really quickly, I think it's so cool for people, whether you love the sequels or hate the sequels. I think it's so cool that Dave, and Jon are working and, to try to fix some of these things and make some of these things make sense. I think this all ties into the cloning with Snoke and the Emperor Palpatine. And really, I honestly think, and here's my theory or prediction. I think in Mando, maybe season 4 or 5, we're going to get Starkiller.
That would be very cool to get Starkiller.
I think the way they tie in the extra universe stuff, the way that they're going with this cloning, I think we're going to get Starkiller eventually in Mando specifically.
Yeah. So, Miss Fraygirl, who do you think the convert is?
So I think Bo is the convert as far as on the Mandalorian side. I think she's the convert, and I think that Dr. Pershing was the convert on the other side. I do think that it it was that. You know, he definitely got honeypotted. I mean,
Oh yes.
yeah, it's not even people that say, "Oh no, he deserved." Yeah, well, yeah, he got honeypotted.
So wait, are
But
you saying he got reconverted back to the Empire?
yeah, I
How?
think he's the convert of that story. I do think that Elia Kane or Elia Kane or whatever
Elia Kane, yeah.
Elia Kane, she's going through and manipulating all of the people that can connect her to Gideon or Thrawn, and she's talking to them and being like, hey, no, we're friends, hey, I'm gonna do this, and she's good at her role, and her role was being a communications officer, being that comms officer, so she knows how to talk to people, she knows how to find out stuff. So I do think that she is I think she converted, which not really. He wanted to do something good for the Republic, but she made the Republic think that he hadn't converted, that he was a false convert,
Right.
by leading him down that path. So I think in that sense, he's the convert. I don't think she's converted at all. I think she's as evil as she was before. And I think she's going to be more than happy to go after Bo-Katan and kick her ass. So yeah. And I think Bo is shaken. She really is thinking about her core beliefs now because she saw that mythosaur. Or did she? I think there's a lot of stuff going on in her head, and right now she's like, this is a safe place, they've accepted me, whereas everybody else that I had as what I thought were my followers and loyal subjects all evaporated, and now I don't even have a home. It's a lot to process. So
yeah, and Bat Mike had a great thing is that she just I think she's the convert here because she has, bring it back up, is that she saw it and she's like, oh, I didn't see anything, and it's kind of like what we discussed on Tuesday at Distance Nerding, is that maybe she is going to be questioning this stuff, and we really hit the mark, I think, when we watched the episode this week, that some of what we were saying is very accurate, especially with her seeing the mythosaur, and that she is becoming the believer, and then therefore will be able to unite everything together. And this nerd is Bo had the come to Jesus moment that I'll call it the belief system. I'll call it space Catholicism, where you just go through the motions and you don't really know why. It's just tradition, and you don't necessarily believe it. And that she is seeing that to this point now. So
it's the evangelicals have taken over, and she's like, I'm going to hang with them for a little while, and really figure it out. I do, and this goes back to the Darksaber too. I think the reason that the Darksaber doesn't like Den or isn't responding to him is because he doesn't know who he is. Bo knows who she is. She knows who she is now. Now, she did before he went in the water. Does she know herself as well now? Would the Darksaber respond differently to her now? Those are questions that we may get answers to. So,
okay,
but I'm done.
You're here.
Tried to keep it.
Yeah.
Brief,
we're coming up on the time. I just want to go through the slides. I wasn't discuss placing VR and go a little bit into it, but I just wanted to say, because being a Destiny player, and this is happening in the video game world, that Lance Reddick died. And we found out that he died a couple days ago, and he is Commander Zavala in Destiny 2. And that's kind of what the gaming point I wanted to do. I didn't have time to make the slide for today just because it came so suddenly. But that's the gaming news I just want to touch a point on, is that he was in The Wire. I haven't seen that yet, but I mean, he was our Agent Doyle's in Fringe. He was our Albert Wesker in Resident Evil, but he is our Commander Zavala. I just want to point that out there for the gaming section today. Not really a spoiler.
I think it's really quickly. I think it's really interesting that we see, because I've seen the memes about that gentleman. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know who he was, a voice actor for a lot of these games. But I think it's interesting now that we're starting to see video game makers, sound developers, and people that work on games in almost the same celebrity status that we see other Hollywood actors, to when they start passing, there's really an outcry of people. I think it's a very cool time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that might.
yeah. I mean, he was also in John Wick, and he
Right.
was in the fourth one too. So it's got to be a bad thing. So to have to go through a press junket for a movie that's coming out when you have somebody who you've been through 4 movies with, I mean, it can't be. Yeah.
No,
So
it's I don't think we know, but everyone's saying it's natural, which is just a shame. And I didn't realize he was 60. He looked amazing for
Yeah.
60.
Wow.
it's
yeah.
it's great.
And
Yeah,
just
so
it's just the nerd community as a whole has been shook by this too, right?
Yeah.
Because it spans so many things:
well,
TV shows, movies, video
he
games.
touched a lot of fandoms.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
want to say I think he was in Supernatural, like guest starred in Supernatural at some point. I think, I don't know. It was on 15 seasons, so he probably did.
No,
You know?
that was the Dean from The Magicians.
That's it. Yeah, that's
The
okay.
alpha vampire you're talking about.
Yeah, the alpha
The
vampire.
Dean.
Yeah, that's what
It's
I
the
thought.
Dean from The Magicians.
Okay.
No, he was in American Horror Story as the voodoo devil.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
probably where I saw him then. I loved that season. That was Coven,
Yes.
right? Yeah. Okay.
Yep, that was Coven. So yeah, that's the nerd news. I think that we just had to cover for the gaming side, like I said, because it just expands everywhere and hit the community really hard.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
I think that's about time to call out this nerd out, the Saturday morning nerd out, even though for 2 of us it's not morning, but
Right.
So we'll do our normal thing. Tell us where we can find you, give your shout outs, where we can follow you on social media and all that jazz. So this is where, Frey, why don't we go ahead and start with you?
Because I suck at this. Okay, great. So I'm Frey Girl. You can follow me on Twitter at Frey Girl. If you want to see some of my pictures on Instagram, you can. I'm not sure why you would, but that is at Gotham_Oracle. The reason is that I can't get into my Frey Girl one, so please don't follow Frey Girl because you're not going to get anything there. And then also on TikTok, same situation. Can't get into my Frey Girl one because don't remember how. And so I'm at Gotham.Oracle there. You can catch me on Distance Nerding, one of our sister channels, and I'm there on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesdays I'm on the download, and that's, I want to say 6:30 Pacific Standard Time.
Yes.
And then the build is 6 Pacific Standard Time. Okay, good. And that's on Thursdays. I do a small show called Kyber Cave After Dark with these two as well here on Kyber Cave Productions. That's on Friday nights, and that is at 8
p.m. Pacific.
So yeah, because it's 10 for me because I'm Central. So, that's why I'm always like, I think that's what it is. So you can catch us there. Super excited about this show, the Nerd Out, the Saturday Morning Nerd Out. I think it's an amazing concept. We will try to stick to our topics. I told everyone I was going to try to stay on topic. I feel like I did a good job today. We do have a Discord here at KCP Production or KCP. And you can always find there. I'm a mod there. I mod for New Rock Stars. They have a Discord. I'm usually on that most of the time. I also am one of the mods on their live show, The Break Room. That is 3 Pacific Standard Time. And you can catch me there Monday through Friday. So that's me. Thanks, guys. I hope it was fun. I had fun.
Oh yeah,
that was a lot of fun.
Mr. Ark.
Woohoo! Hello, I am Ark in the Dark, although it's not quite as dark as it usually is. I am with Kyber Cave. I typically do 3 shows a week on this channel. Wednesday nights I do Hearts of Kyber with Jon at AbiliTVs. Friday nights, Kyber Cave After Dark with these 2 lovely people. And on Sunday nights, you can find me with Mezzo over at Saber Rattle. But of course, we have 7. I'm so excited. We're up to 7 days a week. This show has been so much fun. I'm hoping I can come on more times, but a lot of times on Saturdays we have cons and things like that. So I don't know if I can be here for all these. But this show was a ton of fun. I like the open talking about the different, the different stuff that is out right now. And I appreciate.
You could be our roving reporter when you're at cons.
There you go.
Me and Say Wong. If me and Say Wong isn't, if we're not on the same turf, because there's about to be a battle. Yeah, I appreciate everybody bouncing in, Bat Mike, just concerning everybody else who jumped in, Thomas earlier, and joined the conversation. I especially love the contributions from Bat Mike. Shoot, that might be another host you need to get onto this show. Bat, what are you doing Saturday mornings?
If you can be in the chat, you can be on the screen.
You know what I'm saying?
And you want to do a quick discount?
Yeah, I would like to let everybody know for the next 2 months, this month and next month, we are doing 20% off on everything at kybercave.com. Yay!
Yay!
But the big picture in that is that 20% of our proceeds of things that we make online are going towards helping John, one of our producers, raise money for a new wheelchair. He's been using the same wheelchair for 15 years. This thing is on its last limbs. Unfortunately, this model no longer exists, and he has to buy a whole brand new model, but Medicare ain't helping him out. So you know what? Kyber Cave is going to do what we can do. So if you purchase anything off that website, or, better yet, just go directly to the the GoFundMe for John. I know the information is typically in the description. I don't know if it'll be here today, but if not, we'll get that out. Yes. And if you can't helping out with cash, simply, spread the word. That would help us a lot too. On that note, we have a Patreon. For as little as $1, you can get a Kyber Cave sticker. If you are able to contribute more to help us out, put on programming like this and new shows that are constantly evolving. Believe it or not, we still got more shows in the works. Aubrey's show is next. Yes. So we have all kinds of programming for you if you want to help out, so that I no longer have to go work my regular 9 to 5 and get beat up by children. That would be fantastic. But for as little as $1 a month, and you can participate in a lot of the exclusive questionnaires that we'll have, and we'll have exclusive content on that Patreon as well. Also, make sure you are checking out They Mostly Pod Out at Night. Mostly. If you're not doing that, what the hell's wrong with you? All right, I have said my piece.
All right.
Yay.
And I am Graveyard, co-host of the Mostly Pod Out at Night Mostly podcast. I don't have my background up for this today because we are the Saturday morning nerd out. I want to focus on that today. I want to thank everyone for joining us online in the chat. I'd like to really thank Ark and Mezzo and Frago for joining me and helping make this happen. This has been my dream for a couple of months now. I'm super stoked. And you can find me in my podcast at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Pod Out at Night. Make sure you go check it out. We release new content every Wednesday at midnight. On top of that, going with the donations, our website, if you use the code KyberCon3, will get you 15% off of our merchandise. And if you use that, you let me know that you came from Kyber Cave Productions, and then profit from that is also going into the fund for John's wheelchair. And then you can find me at Distance Learning on Thursdays to Build doing the brackets right now, and find me now 4 days a week on this channel.
Wow.
So
you have no personal life.
So once again, I want to thank everyone, and make sure to join our Discord. It is Kyber Cave Productions, and you want to talk nerdy to us more than just the show, let us know. Like, comment, subscribe to this, share this out. Let us know what you think about this in the comments. What do you want us to cover? What you like, so we can help improve the show and bring it to you, and help improve and grow this community as well. So I like to thank our cavers, our dwellers, our spelunkers, and everything for that. So on that note, don't be afraid to let your nerd out. We'll see you next week.
We're gonna nerd out, baby.
Yeah.